Call this meeting to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, couple of announcements. The Sustainable Grafton Committee will hold a shredding event on Saturday, April 6th, sponsored by Unibank. The shredding truck will be located at the Unibank branch at 89 Worcester Street. On Saturday, April 6th, Boy Scout Troop 107 will host a bottle drive here at the Municipal Center. All right. First up, we have a public hearing for Pub 122. They are applying for an all-alcohol beverage license.
Notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the General Laws as amended that an application has been made by Gaurav Sharma Sangam Incorporated, doing business as Pub 122 at 215A Worcester Street, North Grafton, Massachusetts 01536 for an all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license. The premises located at 215A Worcester Street, North Grafton, Mass. 01536 is a 4,300 square foot building consisting of one floor, 3 rooms, 2 entrances, and 3 exits. Upon this application, the Grafton Select Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March the 19th at 2024, in Conference Room A of the Grafton Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road. Remote meeting participation will be available, and the meeting link will be posted on the March 19th, 2024 agenda. The meeting begins at 7 p.m. The purpose of this hearing is to provide an opportunity for public comment. This was published in the Grafton News, February the 29th and March the 7th, the town webpage and the town bulletin board. And Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley.
I move the board vote to open the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And the public hearing is open. Ricky, did you want to come in and just tell us what you're doing?
Yes. First of all, I would like to say good evening to the board members and to the town. And I'm just apologizing on my behalf because I was under the wrong impression that all of my inspections had to be done before I applied for my annual liquor license, which I have held for multiple years here in the town of Grafton. So we are here before you to get our liquor license reinstated, please.
Sure. So can you bring us up to date on what happened with the inspections and where they stand today?
Everything is up to code. Fire chief came, building inspector, everything was done. The building is 100% compliant. All of our fire requirements are 100%. Everything that the town requires and the state requires is up to date.
Outstanding. Okay. Any board discussion?
No, not me.
Okay. I'll take a motion.
I think don't you normally do public comment?
Oh, that's
Public
right.
comment.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Do we have any public comments? Anything online?
No hands on Zoom.
Okay.
I got my no hands on Zoom guy back.
That's great.
Good to see you, Will.
Let's get
See you
some
too.
hands on Zoom, people. All right.
All right, Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley.
I move the board vote to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right, Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley.
I move the board vote to approve a restaurant all-alcoholic beverages license for Gaurav Sharma of Sangam Incorporated, doing business as Pub 122 located at 215 Worcester Street, and sign the licensing authority certification.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just, Mr. Chair,
Sure.
does that that motion has to have some sort of ABCC portion in it, doesn't it? On approval
No.
of the ABCC?
No, because our motion and vote then goes to the ABCC, so nothing happens without the ABCC's signature later.
Okay. That was
Got
it.
it. All right. For anybody that hasn't been to Pub 122 for some Indian food, I highly recommend it. It's pretty outstanding. With that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
I apologize, Mr. Sharma, if I messed your name there.
No worries. That's good.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. We have no select board or administrator or fire chief appointments, so we'll move right on to new business. First up, we have a one-day beer and wine license for the GHS Parent Connection at Grafton Common. Is there anybody here to represent that one?
Would you like me to come up?
Yeah, come on up, Ms. Spinney.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Spinney, 71 Potter Hill Road, and I'm here for the first four licenses on the agenda, so representing different organizations that I am involved with. The GHS Parent Connection is sponsoring an event on March 29th at 1 Grafton Common. It's a parents' night out, and it's to benefit the class of 2026, so that they can pay for all their expenses when they're seniors in a couple of years. It's just a standard night out with the food and drinks, but this is what I'm calling the college edition. So we have a couple of parents who are serving on sort of a panel who are there to answer questions and give their war stories about the college admissions experience to anyone who wants to come, whether it's parents in the sophomore class or freshmen, juniors, anyone. Tickets are on sale. They're $25. And all of the information has been sent to parents via the high school. So hopefully they've seen the flyers and can find the link to be able to sign up for that event. So we're seeking a one-day beer and wine license to be able to serve at that event on the 29th.
What time does that start?
It starts at 7 o'clock. It's 7 to 9.
All right. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Walton?
I move the board vote to approve a one-day beer and wine license for Apple Tree. Am I on the wrong one? Sorry. One-day beer and wine license for the Grafton High School Parent Connection at 1 Grafton Common on Friday, March the 29th, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I was just going to do all of them at once.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Should I move on?
Yep.
Okay. The next event is Liz Colonesi is helping to organize this, and she asked me to come and appear today. I think she filed the application with you. I'm also vice president of the board of Apple Tree Arts, so I'm speaking on its behalf on April 4th, 2024. I think that's the one that's up next, right? Right? Okay.
April 4, yep.
We're having a First Thursdays Americana concert series event with, I hope I'm pronouncing the band right, Mosby and the Northern Flicker, with a special guest, the Big League Collective. Doors open at 6:30. Tickets are on sale for $20 at appletreearts.org. And for that event also, we're looking for a one-day beer and wine license to be able to sell beer and wine at that event.
Got it. Okay. April 4th. Americana concert at 1 Grafton Common. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley?
I move the board vote to approve a one-day beer and wine license for Apple Tree Arts on Thursday, April 4th, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. The next license is also for Apple Tree Arts. On April 29th, we are having our annual, our biggest fundraiser of the year, the annual gala. Or April 27th, I'm sorry. April 27th. doors open for general admission at 7, but we're also having a VIP hour at 6. Tickets are $65 for general admission, $90 for VIP, and they're on sale now at appletreearts.org. For this event, we do kick it up a notch. So we have Pepper's Artful Events as the caterer. We also have live music. We also have a great silent auction. There's the thing called the bead dance, which if you don't know what it is, you have to come to the event and find out what it is. Or the bead game, the bead dance, whatever you want to call it. And so for that, with Pepper's serving, we'd like to serve a full bar for that. So that's why we're seeking, instead of a one-day beer and wine license, the all alcoholic license, but it's just for that one event.
Great. Any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley?
I move the board vote to approve a one-day all-alcoholic license for Apple Tree Arts on Saturday, April 27th, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, put my next hat on as chair of the Grafton Farmers Market Committee. We are also seeking an annual outdoor music license. We have a bunch of great acts lined up for the summer. I'm really excited about it. The market opens on June 19th and it runs through October 9th. It's going to be on the Common like before. We have some great vendors, and it's going to be a wonderful market this year. We've gotten after kind of rebuilding last year, we've gotten a really great response. People have been reaching out since, I think, November, asking to get on our list for this year. So we're looking to be able to play. It's mostly folk music, so it's usually like one vocalist, a guitarist, or maybe a soloist. At most, we have 4 people. That's the exception. It's like folk music, and they bring their own sound. So it's nothing that's too loud, and they only play for 2 to 3 hours, depending on the act, between the hours of 2 and 6, which is when we're open. So, and that's every Wednesday
Any
during
questions?
that time.
One comment.
Sure.
Just wanted to say thank you. The farmers market is something that everybody looks forward to every year. It generates a lot of chatter online and I think a lot of people in person. So the efforts of you and the rest of the committee don't go unnoticed, and thank you.
Yeah.
It's great to hear.
Great opportunity for local businesses as well. Any other comments, questions? Nope. I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley?
I move the board vote to approve an annual outdoor music license for the Grafton Farmers Market at the Common.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very
Have a
much.
great night.
Thanks, Liz.
Good night.
All right, next up we have consider the vote to sign resolution in support of the paint stewardship legislation, and I believe we have Mr. Irwin. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. I was just setting up to be able to be at the farmer's market.
Great.
There you go.
Congratulations.
If you could just give us your name and address.
My name is Tom Irwin. I live at 54 Central Ave in Dalton, Massachusetts.
All right.
Before I begin, I did prepare additional handout information for you all relevant to what I'm going to be speaking about.
Thanks.
I'll be referencing during what I say.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak about paint stewardship, the bill that's presently before our legislature. As you know, I live in Dalton, and I'm a retired chemical engineer and primary care physician. While I was a member of the Dalton Waste Management and Recycling Committee, we were facing the same daunting crisis that Grafton faces. No landfill, having to haul our waste out of state, and dealing with rapidly ever-increasing hauling costs and tipping fees. And we were looking for a solution. After a careful study of ways to address this problem, I ran across Paint Care. It seemed like the perfect first step. And after confirming in the eyes of the consumers and the retailers in New York, Vermont, and Connecticut that it was actually working well, I decided it was safe to become an advocate. As you know from the literature you probably have read, paint stewardship is a program where unwanted paint can be returned to retail stores any day they're open, at no cost, and without regard for where they purchased it. The cost to consumers is going to be 75 cents to $1 per gallon of paint at time of purchase. No other fees. There will be no cost to the retailers. The collected paint, the latex, is going to be hauled to reprocessing facilities, reblended to like new condition, and sold for no more than 50% of the original cost of the paint. The oil-based paints, though some can be reprocessed, the vast majority of it is going to be sent to South Carolina, where they have cement plants that can use it as a co-fuel to make final product, but they all have scrubbers, so they're not going to end up creating any air pollution. This program has been working well in 11 states, including 5 of our neighboring states of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, Vermont, and New York. It's been in Connecticut for over a decade. And interestingly, in that time period, the cost per gallon of paint has not changed 1 penny. The goal is not to make money, just to break even. These resolutions are consistent with the state's plans. We're not imposing on the state. As highlighted in your first exhibit, the MMA is in support. This is the letter they sent to the ENR committee testifying and encouraging the ENR to look favorably on this particular legislation. Your second exhibit is the residential waste section of the Mass DP 2030 Solid Waste Master Plan. The back of that is highlighted, and in that it highlights EPR in general and paint stewardship in particular as contributors to moving the state towards zero waste. Of particular note, this master plan, using 2018 as baseline, calls for a 30% reduction in waste by 2030 and an unbelievable 90% reduction by 2050. I can't imagine how we're going to achieve that without stewardship programs. In addition to the state, reassuringly, there's broad support. Paint manufacturers and retailers work together along with consumer groups and state agencies to create this law, and so clearly are supporters of this law. 3,000 Mass residents that signed petitions, including 92% of 735 people that attended household hazardous waste days returning hazardous materials in Western Massachusetts, and the embarrassingly large number of Massachusetts residents that are returning unwanted paint to our neighboring states that have this law, clearly are going to be supporters of this law. In the legislature, 28 representatives and 12 senators were co-sponsors, were sponsors for this legislation, which is far more support than it's ever enjoyed. And the support comes from both sides of the aisle. 31 municipalities to date, as you'll note in your third handout, where the supporting towns are asterisked, the ones with resolutions, with more are expected each week. In fact, this week, Westfield, Springfield signed on last night. Westfield will be Thursday, and East Hampton will be tomorrow. The other question you might have is, can we wait on this? And at first looks, paint stewardship is not an apparent crisis. It appears to be an issue that could wait. However, unfortunately, make no mistake, the crisis looms. And unfortunately, there is no time to wait. And that's based on implementing a robust product stewardship programs that comprehensively address our needs beyond just paint, which includes mattresses, solar panels, packaging, electronics, lithium car batteries, and carpeting. Will take a minimum of 15 or 20 years of concerted effort. Our collective interests, therefore, are best served by starting that journey now with support for the first step, paint stewardship. The House Ways and Means legislators have commented that significant municipal support through 40 resolutions by mid-April is critical to demonstrate sufficient municipal priority to compel serious consideration of paint stewardship by the Ways and Means Committee. In the previous 6 sessions of the legislature, this did not occur, and it did not survive the House Ways and Means Committee. This provides us a path and is therefore great news. But to further improve the odds, this bill is not only seriously considered, but also favorably viewed. I think we should strive to exceed 40 resolutions with as many additional resolutions as time permits. Therefore, tonight, I respectfully request the Grafton Select Board add their valued endorsement of paint stewardship by passing the supportive resolution being considered this evening. Thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Well, first, thanks so much for coming in.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
for giving us all the materials, and some in advance as well. Very well presented. I'll just open up discussion.
Nope, I'm in favor.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Jefferson.
Yeah, it seems like a real no-brainer. I love pushing the onus on, upstream on manufacturers to try and, either reduce packaging or do some sort of reclamation effort. It seems like the only disruption at the local level would be some sort of storage tank that would need to be housed, or?
No, actually, what they do is put in they have Nalgene totes, and they take the cans individually and put them in the totes. And the rules are it has to be an original can with original label, so they know what's there. And then they segregate it once it gets to the reprocessing plant, so they blend the right stuff with each other.
Excellent.
And it's not like it's a battleship gray. They have a variety of colors. In fact, there's a reprocessing plant in Hanover, Mass, not too far down the street from you guys. A little bit of a drive from Dalton, but better for you guys. And they do the reprocessing of latex there. The oil-based paints, of course, go down to Alabama and then that area, where they have the cement plants by happenstance.
My only other question was, as we do have at least one fairly large paint retailer in town, and I apologize for not thinking of this sooner, to excuse me, to reach out to them in advance of this meeting, was if we wanted to just give them an opportunity to voice an opinion either way before the board takes any action on this.
What are they? What's their paint line?
That's Koopmans and what do they have? Benjamin Moore.
Yeah, I think it's mostly Benjamin Moore.
The retailers have been the only three entities that likely will pass, because it's voluntary. The stores that actually do the collections, voluntary. The transfer stations that participate, voluntary.
Okay.
And so the Benjamin Moore stores tend to be those that volunteer. Okay. If you had a Sherwin-Williams, their corporation has mandated that all stores that are under them, unless it only has one person in the store, in which case they can't be running back and forth putting the paint away, will be participants and collectors.
That's excellent. I missed that. So thank
No,
you.
no worries. I appreciate the questions. I like folks feeling comfortable before they say yes to something.
Yeah, and it seemed like a non-binding measure that we would take anyways. It's just in support of the bill, but knowing that it wouldn't be mandatory at the local level. That
Yep.
we would encourage it certainly.
Yep.
But we're not cuffing anybody at this point. So
The other thing I love to see is in Vermont. The number started out as 84 participating spots that you could return your paint to. It's down to 80. So there's no spankings, there's no yelling and screaming. If you want out, just say, I think I'm all done. If you want in, it's a simple, like is this it? Form that you fill out, which basically gives your address and who's there and what's the contact help, and bang, you're they just drop off a tote for you, and you're in business. It's really that simple. And you want to get rid of your tote? Get on the horn to a national agency that paint manufacturers set up to take care of this and say, hey, I got a full one. Within 2 to 4 days, they're there giving you empty and taking the full one away. No questions asked.
final comment. Just wow. This whole presentation has been incredibly informative, and you are amazingly well prepared. So thank you.
I spent a year and change on it, so I'm glad it shows.
It feels like this may not be your first rodeo, as they say.
Amen.
So is the surcharge of 75 cents a dollar, is that segregated out typically so that people can see that
Absolutely.
on the receipt? Yeah.
It's listed right there on the charge form. And there was worries, being honest, Retailers Association of Massachusetts is the only entity that has concerns. In fact, if somebody wants to see it, I have a prepared commentary on what's their concern, and here's our rejoinder. But they were concerned that people would be able to buy the paint online and not have to pay the fee. So all right, I'm a good engineer, went and checked it out. nope, that's not true. If I put in my address, that fee shows up. So, everybody pays 75 cents. And the other thing that made me comfortable is that I did a lot of farmers markets, trying to get folks to sign petitions and everything. I was talking to folks that live near the Connecticut border, and they said, "Yeah, do we go down to the Enfield Sherwin-Williams all the time?" I said, "Do you pay the 75? I don't know. I just get the paint there. It's convenient and all that. And what do you do with your excess paint? I bring it back there." So, it's the culture just is really supportive of it. And I also called Maine and I called Rhode Island. I want to know what the story was. So if you're a store within 10 to 15 miles of the border, Massachusetts folks are returning their paint to you.
Good to know.
You mentioned latex and oil. Are there any other materials like urethane-based products or things like that that could be included, or is it just those two materials?
The classification of all of the materials that are accepted is architectural paints. And so if you put it on your wall, you put it on your floor, you can put it on your furniture, you can put it on your deck, you can put it on the outside of your house, they're taking it back.
Great. Excellent.
And if you go to the Paint Care website, they will give you a comprehensive list of everything they do and don't take.
Fantastic. And presumably the Nalgene containers are provided gratis to the volunteer
Oh, yes.
participants?
They're owned by Paint Care.
Got it. And you mentioned that this had come up in the past and didn't pass the House Ways and Means? Is that what
Didn't
you
get
said?
out of the House Ways and Means. It never got to a vote. It just
Okay.
died in committee.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Did it get to two Ways and Means?
Yes, it has
The reason I
previously.
ask is because we happen to have a local rep here who I believe is still on Ways and Means.
Yes, yes.
So if people,
And who is that, please?
Dave Meridian,
Okay.
and I was just gonna comment to the public, if this is something that you support, it'll make its way to Ways and Means, and a way that you can advocate for this yourself is to reach out to Mr. Meridian and advocate for moving it along and getting a vote on it.
That would be wonderful.
Good idea.
Sure.
Yeah, if I might, Mr. Chair, thanks for coming in. Thanks for the information. Particularly excited not only in this stewardship, but also of the other items that you've been talking about. And as you know, I'm started the Sustainable Grafton Group, and actually this paint issue was one of the things that we had identified as a goal for us in terms of what we do know the person down in Hanover or individuals that have been
Yep.
part of that group. So thank you for this, and glad that you took it on, and appreciate any work that you will do for the other items that you mentioned.
Next up is mattresses. I will see you in about a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
It's great, man. It's boots on the ground that make a difference with these initiatives, and I really
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right.
appreciate what you're doing. Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
Do we want to consider a letter of support from the board to Mr. Meridian as well? In addition to residents reaching out, or?
You're gonna sign the resolution, and I would just,
Leave it at that.
I would just
Send
send
it
it to
Oh, okay.
Rep Meridian.
I think that would be probably the most effective.
Yeah, I don't
If
want
you
to
put through a cover letter on that, very effective.
Makes sense to me.
Yep. Perfect.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Foley?
I move the board vote to approve and sign the resolution in support of paint stewardship legislation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much for your support.
You bet. All right, let's see, what do we got next up? We have the TA eval. I will just, so it's been completed. It is in the packet. I'll just open it up for any discussion that anybody has.
I can start, I suppose. I feel my end, my meeting with the department head was very positive, and put many quotes in there relative to that. I felt that my rating was consistent with how I rated last year, which is how I do this. I think it's poor practice otherwise, but looking at the individual each year to year as it pertains to this tool that we're given. I will note that I think it was at least 3, if not maybe 4 of the areas I did increase by 1 in the reading. So,
Great stuff.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. I heard all the same things. It was, in the department head interview, just a lot of positives, a lot of talk about the culture that you foster around here, the emphasis on training and education that you provide staff, just all the way down to how personable you are, how you carry yourself around here. You're incredibly approachable. It was just a lot of good things. I think you make this job a lot easier for us, and thank you for another solid year.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna read what I wrote. I think that the town is fortunate to have Evan as a town administrator. He's a dedicated administrator. It's almost like he lives here.
oh, that was you.
Good stuff. I also had a really positive interaction with the department head. The person that I spoke to was relatively new in the municipal center. And one of the things that I will ask about in that circumstance, I think how people are treated as they're onboarded into a new organization to them is a really good indicator of how well-functioning an institution or organization is. So I focused a little bit in on that because, that this person was in their kind of honeymoon period, and for anybody who's moved from another job and into a new position, they're going to be fairly positive. But their commentary to me was that you are quite approachable whenever there are questions, that they really felt like they were welcomed, not just within their department, but within the municipal center, and that really speaks to the culture here. They seemed very happy to be coming to work, which, again, it's a positive sign. And they felt like they pretty quickly had everything they needed to be successful in their roles. So access to things, training, all the sort of materials and various levels of support that they needed, getting set up with accounts and all that kind of stuff. It's not an easy process often to get that all right, and to hear such positive commentary from that department head was really it really gave me a lot of confidence in what we were doing. So I guess the other thing is I just noted that for the most part, a lot of the scores tended to even out around between just under or just over 4, which indicates generally scores of 3, 4, and 5. So good to outstanding, which I think is for me very much a good reflection of your performance in the various areas. So, any other questions?
You do a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So,
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley.
I move the board vote to approve the town administrator's annual evaluation as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And the motion carries. Great. Next up, we have changes to the collective bargaining agreement for the library.
So we have 2 different agreements before you, stemming from 2 different grievances that we were able to resolve. The first one has to do with how longevity pay is calculated. And the resolution to that grievance is that the union agrees to the town's methodology in exchange for matching the longevity that is listed in the GMEA contract. So it brings parity, which we weren't really opposed to. It's a very minimal financial impact, and it retains the calculation that we're using, which is important because that's the calculation we use for every other employee in the town of Grafton. So we need to have that continuity, otherwise it creates a host of issues for us. The second one is a little more nuanced, but essentially, in the absence of the director, we've made a lot of changes, and those changes required us to move temps in and shift hours and make all kinds of changes in the library. And this really just cleans all of that up and puts any kind of dispute over what is a union position and what is a temp position to bed. So that's kind of it.
All right. Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Jefferson?
There's just one, I think, possible typo. Page 76 of the packet. It's a second agreement, first page. Under number 3, letter E has a strike through on it. I don't know if that was intentional or not, or if it matters. But
It,
Well,
it
well spotted.
really, Andy.
Wow.
No, it doesn't matter.
okay.
But it's probably left over from us going back and forth on the document. So, but really,
Sheesh.
that's a heck of a
Sometimes,
spot.
you know.
There's a net, and he's picking it.
I guess.
Man.
Put that in the evaluation, Andy.
Well, it's legal stuff.
Mr.
All right.
Chair,
Ms. Foley?
I move the board vote to approve the settlement agreements as presented and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Chapter 90 reimbursement request.
It's just a standard reimbursement request.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley, before
sorry, go ahead. Yep.
you make a motion, this references a contract, which I had a little bit of difficulty finding.
Okay.
What's the work?
This is the complete streets plan and execution that we're
The
doing.
plan. Okay, got it. All right.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley?
I move the board vote to approve and sign the Chapter 90 reimbursement request as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, we have the consideration of the vote to sign Fisherville Dam contract.
Yeah, and we're gonna request that you pass over that.
We are going to pass over
It'll
that.
be back at your next meeting. We're just ironing out a couple last minute wrinkles.
Sounds good. Next up, we have the contract policy. Any discussion on that one?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Jefferson?
I got another pick to knit.
Okay.
Number 3, the last line, it says Labor Council may be initiated by members of the Select Board. Well, that doesn't sound so weird. Initially, I thought it needed a "the" in there, initiated by the members of the Select Board, but it's fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley?
I move the board vote to approve and sign the contract negotiation procedure policy as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I recommend we use this for any upcoming contracts we have. So the next one that comes up, let's just refer back to this and kick it into gear. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, we have prepare goal, yeah, just a discussion on the goals workshop. So I put this on to just, we have it coming up. This is a yearly thing. I was hoping Mark was gonna be here, cause he's, I think, the only person that hasn't been part of this so far, but we did have in the packet a copy of the goals from last year. Any comments or questions on the process here?
I just think, well, I'll just say, I couldn't find them all year anywhere, and we didn't reference them. I'm just going to say that. So I just would hope that this year we do it. I don't think that we came back to them because I had notes that we're combining a couple of these and we didn't do that. So it's fine, you know, I just think that let's do it next week or whenever it is and, you know, go through it, see the document afterwards, put it out there and have it and refer to it.
Could not agree more. That was right along the lines of my commentary tonight as well. These are our goals, right? So
What kind of
we
story?
need to be following up. So it's a shared responsibility, I think, between the board and the administration. And yeah, I agree. We need to nail these down. I would recommend, and we can talk about this in the workshop, that we help prioritize these a little bit. So as I was looking over these, it's such a wide variety of different things, and also looking at these, some of these are a little bit longer term. I'd recommend that we contemplate either a stack ranking so that, you know, it can be easily understood what are our highest priorities, so that, and also what are our lowest priorities. So if there are decisions that have to be made about what can be worked on or what doesn't need to be worked on, if there's not enough capacity or time or whatever, that we have those, have that consideration. So there's some indicator to help guide a sense of priority.
And if I can add, I mean, maybe we need to, I mean, I feel like I brought it up a lot, and sometimes it's like, oh, maybe I can't find them on the website or what have you, but again, neither here nor there, I suppose, at this point, but perhaps quarterly we come back to them. Maybe it's on a quarterly basis that it's on our agenda to see where we are. Have we talked about them, you know, oh, we forgot about that one or what have you. Doesn't
We
have to
actually
be all
talked
the
about
time.
that last year, Anne Marie.
Yeah.
And we said last year that we'd put them on quarterly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whether it happened or it didn't happen, it doesn't, it's water over the dam, but I agree. Every quarter, we should be reviewing these, so.
So one thing we could think about is we've also agreed quarterly to bring Chief Matthew in. So we could maybe at the same time ask for an update on those and an update on our select board goals from the TA. Might be one way to do it, just so that we're getting our updates all at the same time, and we have that regular cadence to make sure that these things don't drop off the radar. Yeah, once we have agreed them, I think they should definitely be easily accessible. So maybe on the select board page or whatever, if they're not there already.
They are now.
They are now.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Did you want to make any comments?
No, I was just gonna say, on when you meet on the 26th, I plan to, we'll have 22's goals and 23's goals in the new software with the tracking module, and so we can talk about that. And I think that'll help with the prioritization plan as we build a new plan, because it lets you rank them, track them. So I think that'll be helpful. And if we do that on a quarterly basis, you know, we can pull that up and look at the data.
Great.
So that might be helpful as well.
Excellent. All right. Let's see. So next up we have the Springtown meeting warrant.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley.
I move the board vote to approve and sign, I move the board, strike that, Mr. Chair. I
Stricken.
move the board vote to open the annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Sorry.
Motion and a second.
Brain isn't here tonight.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries and the warrant is open. Select board reports.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Jefferson.
Last Wednesday, the CMRPC hosted the first of their ADU workshops, which are accessory dwelling units. I know Dave Robbins from Planning, Dan Kusher from FinCom and Affordable Housing Trust, myself, and Bill Yeomans from ZBA were in attendance, which, coupled with the fact that there were roughly 40 attendees, meant Grafton made up at least 10% of the class.
That's great.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So this session outlined some of the benefits of ADUs, including affordability, multi-generational households, additional income, diverse options, and that they're usually congruent with existing housing, which is some of the primary feedback that we get, with some of the other new affordable unit construction around town. Several towns in the state have also revised their zoning in a variety of ways to make ADUs by right instead of by special permit, which is also something that we've discussed here. And the trust a couple months ago received a copy of Worcester's recently voted on ADU bylaw revisions that we're kind of going through. So hoping that we can apply some of that knowledge and those learnings here. The trust also met last Thursday. We received some updates from the town planner. Upton, 1727 Upton is on track to submit their packets to conservation and planning in April, as they had hoped to. We're going to push the developer for some additional sidewalk connectivity behind the Grafton Inn and along that, the property border there. So it would go from 27 down Upton Street to the Common that way, and then also along the other property line leading around back to the crosswalk that comes out by the church and One Grafton Common, just to increase that accessibility.
Great.
Yeah. The chair signed the purchase agreement for 25 Worcester Street, so that was another big one. The SHI numbers for Pleasant Street have been submitted to the state. 116 Upton Street is about to finish the planning board public hearings, and then those numbers will be submitted to the state. And our CMRPC rep let us know that she'd been working on like a cheat sheet, one-sheeter for the for Grafton's housing production plan. That top level highlights the entire report. And on their end, they happen to be working on an onboarding guide for local affordable housing trust members that they're going to distribute to trusts across the state. So
Nice.
it's been a really fruitful partnership with CMRPC across several committees now. So we're really getting some value out of it.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Oh, for sure.
They work with so many municipalities that have so many different types of unique issues. But they've kind of seen it all, so it's good.
I just have a question. So the sidewalk behind the Grafton Inn, is that going along an already paved area? You're talking like in their parking lot almost?
It would be on more or less like following a similar line right there, because they have the property line on the opposite side of the Grafton Inn. So it would be on the existing property line for the boundary on 17 Upton.
And the purpose would be just to get to that crosswalk as opposed to going on the sidewalk around?
Yes. Cutting the distance.
Yeah, so presumably if we, I guess if we ended up with parking where that old barn is, that would
Yeah.
it kind of provide quicker access for the businesses that have been asking for additional parking across the street. Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Speaking of that old barn, if I can bring this up, can I, Mr. Chair?
You guys okay with the discussion?
I
on
understand that
Sure.
there's, people in town who are overclimped about this barn. It's an old cow barn. But I came up with an idea, that we can use CPC money to have it taken down, numbered, and there are companies that come in and do this because it's post and beam. They do a drawing of the building, they number everything, they take everything apart, and then they can reassemble it someplace.
Sure.
Now, Evan and I talked about this, and it was like, well, where would we put it? The only place that I could come up with was 95 North Street. And I don't know if there's room there or anything, but, the bond is gonna come down. I'm sure that the developer will give us the bond. They're not, they're gonna knock it down. But there are companies that can come in, number it, put it together, take it apart, and put it back together the exact same way it is, except not leaning. So, we don't want that. But that's a thought, and I don't know, where, if anybody wants to take this and run with it, or do something about it prior to this, this bond being knocked down, that we could reuse it, at 95 North Street. And again, I don't know if there's enough room. Bond's not that big.
Sure.
So, it's very possible that we can incorporate it into that park that's being built there and actually utilize it.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I don't know if you want to put it on as agenda items, at some point, or,
I think that's a CPC matter.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to pursue that, I'm fine with them putting a request into CPC. It may make sense to to consider that. I'm just thinking about that, basically that barn sits on a big cinder block. It's totally flat and.
It's on granite stone.
Yeah, so presumably it'd be pretty easy to, there's not a lot of integrated footing or anything like that.
No,
It's
it's
just
nothing.
kind of
It
sitting on
just sits on
top.
top. It's,
Right,
the biggest thing is documenting the structure,
sure.
the exterior and the interior and all of the pins. So, cause they're all wooden pins, so.
Makes sense.
Would it be like maybe Affordable Housing Trust first, though, since they seem to?
Well, it's not their land, so that's the
Yeah.
problem.
It's all under purchase.
So we would have
I
to,
understand, but they're they're obviously working with the developer, right?
yeah, yeah.
So would that not be something that maybe they would first bring up to the developer? I guess maybe the developer wouldn't
Yeah.
care one way or the other, but just to check, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that would go. I'm not sure I'd want to approach the developer unless we had some funding, at least in principle agreed.
Well, I mean, I think it's not gonna hurt the developer to say, hey, we got an idea. What do you think? You think this is possible, that we can get this bond for nothing and have it, the problem is that have it off in the time frame that they need it out of the way.
Sure.
So that's the thing, so it's a thought. Yesterday I couldn't find a place for it, 95 North Street, if we can incorporate it into there, I think it would be a fantastic place for that bond to go.
All right. We have an idea on the table. I'm gonna leave it at that. Unless the board feels like, it wants to take some action, if you wanna bring it to affordable housing,
I would put it on your next agenda if you're gonna decide where it goes, like who to send it to.
but personally, I'm not motivated to,
Right, so if
Have a
nobody
place.
takes it up, then no, but I wouldn't send a member off in a direction if they're not.
I think I can confidently say that the Affordable Housing Trust wouldn't really take a stance on it anyway. I don't think to Ray's point, they'd want to see a delay in the project, but I don't see them having an issue with the discussion at least being had, and if this work can happen concurrently.
sure. I guess somebody has to champion this thing, so unless I have somebody to step up to say, I'm gonna run with this, then
I'll do it,
I was gonna say, I
Okay.
can reach out to
Yeah,
CPC
I'll
if
do
you
it.
want. I don't
Great.
want to champion it.
doesn't bother me.
Okay.
All it is asking a question, so.
Then just let me know, and I'm happy to put it on an agenda once we have a little bit more information on it.
We do have a CPC member in the audience.
We do have a CPC member in the audience. Would you like to come up?
There's only one
Miss-
person.
So Colleen Roy, member of CPC, and I just wanted to throw this out there for the timeline purposes. It's going to be too late to apply for a spring town meeting CPC, so that would push you all the way to the fall. Just to
But they're
consider
not-
that if
but
that's
Evan, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Colleen.
Are
but
you?
They're not, what?
what?
They're not even close to putting a shovel in the ground.
But I just for whoever's championing it, just for you to realize that it would
Yeah.
go to the fall. That's all.
And that section of the project, they could also bypass if they had to for a couple of months.
Not speaking for the developer, but I would say that's probably within the realm of possibility.
Yep.
Sounds good. Well, yeah, let me know.
Okay,
Get it on an upcoming agenda. Any other select board reports?
I have one,
Sure.
I attended the League of Women Voter meeting just the other evening. We had a really great speaker on the Electoral College. It was very informative. I also attended the CMMPO meeting. I'm the alternate on that committee, and that was last month. I believe that was before our last meeting, and we have another meeting tomorrow, I believe. I went to the MMA breakfast on Friday, which was great, and I also went to the Willard Clock Pollinator Meadow and Loop Trail event on Saturday or Sunday. Forget which day that was. They have a 3-tier plan over there at the Willard Clock Museum to create a fairly large pollinator and trail loop. So it's going to happen over the course of 3 years. This year it's just volunteers kind of clearing out the land and putting down tarps, and next year will be some planting and so on and so forth. So that was great. And as many of you know, we had our AMA event on last Thursday. Mark and I and Mr. Berger were there. And to your point, Ray, the barn did come up as part of that discussion. And I'd be happy to chat with you about that. We talked about a variety of issues. There were some, we had it at the Historical Society in South Grafton, which I think was great to get some folks in the door there and checking out that facility. And I thank the Historical Society for helping us out with that and getting things set up and just opening the doors for us. So it was a lively discussion on a number of a variety of topics. Fisherville Mill, some issues relative to water down there in South Grafton. George Hill Road came up. And a few other things. So it was good and it was well attended. It's probably about a third of the people there were either town employees, no offense, or board members, and maybe less than 2/3 were participants, but maybe even a little bit less than those. So the one thing I wanted to bring up about it, and unless anyone has any questions about it, Ray, you're the only one there, so if you have any questions for me, but
I was the only one who wasn't there.
that you weren't there. I'm sorry, you're the only
I
one
was
that was
playing
not there.
cornhole.
Which is fine. So twofold. The two times I've done this, I have had the two board members that were doing the AMA and two other board members attend. And on both occasions, one of the board members, also interjected as part of the discussion. So two things. One would be, there are other things that we do during the year that seem even more social, where we have to, let Amber know if there's going to be a quorum there. And so I guess I'm seeing how there's a difference with this, because there could be times where there seemingly could be discussion. And then the other, along with that, or coupled with that, is if the intent of it is that it's two board members sitting with members of the public and having a, just an open, frank discussion. This one obviously felt different because there was somebody that was a department head there, so I kind of brought a lot of other board members and whatnot. So I know this isn't the exact example, but I'm just wondering how the board is seeing this. I've made a conscious effort not to go to anyone else's meeting, because I think that even to think that the public, they might have been coming, last Thursday for the, Anne Marie and Mark show, or maybe they went 6 months ago because it was the Ray and Andy show, or what have you. So kind of just two separate things there. If we're going to continue as is, I think that we should be cognizant of how many board members are coming and might as well just post it, I suppose. And if not, then maybe the board might consider, how do we want this? What's the purpose? And if it is truly just two board members chatting with folks, then let's maybe have it at that.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Mead?
Anne Marie, I couldn't agree with you more. I didn't go because I was playing cornhole. But if I wasn't playing cornhole, I wouldn't have gone. Because either we make these Ask Me Anythings the two members of the board, or we make it the whole board. So people asked me how come you weren't there? It wasn't my turn. So it's not, I understand, and Andy, you've gone to a couple of the ones, or one of the ones that I was on, and that's fine, but I think that the public needs to talk to the two people who the board designated to do that, to ask me anything. Not other people not other people sitting there or whatever it is. And I'm going to stop talking but I agree 100%. It should be the two people, and that's it, in my opinion.
For me, it changes the flow, is kind of the bottom line.
I won 2 games to 1, by the way. So.
That's what I was wondering. Let me get you after. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you, Emery. I think that makes a lot of sense, to just leave it to the two board members that are designated to do it. Just let them do their thing.
Okay, then that negates the first part of it.
Right.
And that's the end of my report.
Great. TA report.
That's me. All right. Before I get started, I want to say happy birthday to my daughter Grace. She's 10 today.
Oh, wow. 10 years old.
Yeah, double digits.
Wow.
Right.
Happy birthday, Grace.
What are you doing here?
It's just how it plays out sometimes. Someone's got to watch you people.
Will's watching us.
Yeah, from a distance, though. He can't interject the same way. Hold on, I just lost my PowerPoint here. All right. Sorry about that. Here we go. All right. So municipal projects updates. George Hill Road, still waiting on our initial design. Still on track to get that design sometime in the spring. Trying to hone in on that a little bit so that we can push information out. That's one thing that had come up at the AMA, and so we're trying to get a little more finite information so that we can make another announcement. Millbury Street sidewalks, obviously. We've had Mr. Knoyer here a couple of times. We're still looking, hopefully in March, to start some actual construction, but that may slide to April just with the federal process of notification and the myriad of paperwork that we've been going back and forth with. So working our way through that as quickly as we can. ARPA sidewalks, North Street, I'm going to leave it on there, but Paul was just here last week to give you an update. Not last week, last meeting. The cupola project. So I believe the walkthrough for the bid is tomorrow for the person that won the bid. And you will start seeing scaffolding up before the end of March so that they can hit the ground running come April. So excited to get that project underway. Regional Emergency Communications Center. I am working with Westboro, currently reviewing OPM bids. I have to get that back to them by tomorrow. And so we've got some good forward momentum happening there. We just had another meeting at the site today.
Evan, on that, the Westboro Fire Chief said Southborough's interested again?
Yes. Yes, we met with them to discuss it. I don't know how that shakes out for them. Westboro and Grafton are moving full steam ahead. So if we get more participants, great. But we're going to get as much done as we can with just the two of us going. And if people join later, then they just got to go along with what we've done so far. Yeah. So we're more than happy to meet with any surrounding community that's looking to join a rec. But we're not gonna wait to see if they do. So 95 North Street. We're working through some issues with the process. So I brought this up previously, that the initial project amount that we got through our landscape architect seemed very low. We went out to bid. It is indeed low, and so we're working at two different things. I don't know that I'll be done with everything this week, but we're going to walk that project back. We've still got to go to CPC and talk through what our new plan is. We're still developing it, but what we're hoping to do is maybe start up front and do the parking lot and the culvert as a bid, and then do as much of the work from the back of the property forward as we can in-house. And then that should save us probably a couple $100,000 and then make the project solvent again. So met with DPW. We've added a lot of equipment in the last couple years of things that we think we're missing from the fleet, which actually puts us in a really good position to do more of this in-house than really even we thought we would be able to do when this project was envisioned. So a little bit of a bummer, and it probably will result in some kind of slowdown. I'll come back to you all when we have a more finite idea of what we're doing and can go to CPC to present those changes. Norcross Park Playground. We have everything dug out. We should have a new fence put up by Friday. That's kind of a last minute addition, and I'll praise Paul Knoyer for that call earlier in the week. It's the perfect time to do it. If you've ever been to that playground, it's just a regular chain link fence and then an apartment building there. So we're gonna put up a vinyl divider fence, which will keep both sides of that property probably happier. They're not living in a playground and we're not, in their backyard. So, yeah, now that we seemingly have, made it through the thaw and it's not as muddy there, you'll start to see some movement there. All the equipment is delivered. It's just got to be placed. And then we're going to, move forward with the chips and the rubberized, underlayment so that, it's fully accessible. So pretty cool stuff. I just went there today to take a look and it's ready to go. So
Nice.
reminds me of Park and Rec with Andy's pit. You go there, it's just a pit in the ground. And I pulled up today and to meet them there, and there was like 5 people looking in the pit. I was like, we'll get there. Other updates, 17 and 27, we just heard about. Application should be in April for planning and conservation. So looking forward to that. 5 Millennium, we had our initial kickoff meeting, and I probably won't have anything major on that until they're well into the application process. Library flood update. So we've done pretty much all of the work except for the children's room. We're just waiting on that carpet. We've got the sample. We've approved it. It's on order. It's just a matter of it getting here, and it's, from when we ordered it, it's 6 to 8 weeks, which is just how it goes.
Is it the same kind of like Brighton?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
So when we had met on site to kind of talk that through with the insurance adjuster, and it didn't make it's the same basic pattern, just the colors are off, so it would look funky if you tried to just patch it in where carpet got wet. But it also, when you have the furniture in that room, remember we got feedback at the beginning about the pattern. Once you got all the furniture in the room and the stacks, it didn't look as busy, and the entire rest of that space is color coordinated to the carpet. So if we went to a different pattern altogether or color, then we've got to paint walls and do all kinds of other stuff, and it didn't seem prudent. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. All right. Let's see. We're on Elm Rock. So Elm Rock Estates, which is off of Wheeler Road. I'm just putting the board on notice that in your April meeting, I believe your second April meeting, you will have an article to put that on the town meeting warrant to accept that road. It's going to be before the planning board at the end of this month. Fiona asked that I give you the heads up, so that's what I'm doing. UPS, we've had a couple of meetings with them. I think we're making some really good progress. They're proving to be a very good partner to work with, and very much interested in making the process as smooth as it can be for both sides of that project. So we will be looking probably next month. We're going to do a joint outreach meeting with Grafton and Shrewsbury, and again, kind of in the interest of streamlining things, is public outreach being one thing that we think we can combine and have a meeting instead of separate jurisdictions. Bless you. Lastly, FinCom. So we met on Saturday. We met last Wednesday. We met on Saturday. We meet tomorrow night. So as per usual, great process. I think we were done by about 12:30, and that went really well. I as always appreciate their partnership on what we're trying to achieve. Really great conversations were had, and the department heads I know like that collegial atmosphere as well. So thank you to FinCom, and thank you to the department heads that came. It was really, everybody did such a stellar job. And then I was able to leave FinCom, and I met up with Andy in the Senior Center to award Helen DeSimone her proclamation to name March 18th Helen DeSimone Day. So
For her 90th birthday.
for her 90th birthday. And that was a lot of fun. People down there were having a great time. So it was nice. And what was funny is that I know a lot of people in the Senior Center now, but I don't know anybody's last name. So when it came time to read the proclamation and she got up, I'm like, oh, I know Helen. You know, it's just because I've met her a number of times. I just didn't know what her last name was. So, but interesting aside, and then I'll be done. My next door neighbor was at the party, So that's my neighbor that my girls play with, that they just walk through the woods, grew up with Helen and Helen's family. So I just thought that was a small world. That was pretty neat. And then they came to my daughter's horseback riding party from here to there, which is also where I went. So that was pretty neat. Anyways, lastly, just a budget update, keep you in the loop. We are now at $23,237.
All right.
So still on the north side of that line. But it's slowed down now. The fast and furious numbers coming in from the state have waned again, and now we'll look to go back once the legislature takes a crack at it. So, all right,
Good stuff.
okay. Thank you very much. Back to Will.
Does anybody have any correspondence they want to bring up? All right. We have no resignations. Do we have any public comments?
You have one hand on Zoom.
All right. Come on in, hand.
I am the hand.
Mr. Prisby, good evening. Welcome to the meeting.
I was just listening, and I wanted to say congratulations to Evan on the fantastic performance review. It's been 4 years, and you've lived up to and exceeded our expectations. And I concur with all the wonderful things that were said about you here tonight. And it's a little bit ironic when I was going through the meeting packet. The board is about to approve the August 4th, 2020 meeting minutes. That was a really, really terrible meeting for me. And some things that were said at that meeting as a result of our past experience, moving on from our former town administrator. And it was an interesting bookend to listen to everything that was wonderful that was said about you tonight, and to know that those meeting minutes are finally being put to bed. So nice little bow on that one. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Mr. Prisby. Appreciate it. Any other public comments? All right. I will take a motion for meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Foley?
I move the board vote to approve the meeting minutes from August the 4th and August the 6th of 2020 as written.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.